Hi there, I'm Deb Gemmel of Deb Gemmel Mods, and I wanted to catch you up on what I've been working on. So I have a couple finished things and then some mittens that I'm working on. So my first finished object is a skein of spinning. So I took a spinning class, spun for a couple days. The first day, my sister said she thought there was steam coming out of my ears, but I've done a little bit more, so I have one skein now. This is a beginner's skein. Like, look at this, not even twisted, but it's plied and skeined, and now I have to wash it and hang it to dry it. And then I'm told I should keep it just like this so that I can look back and say, look how far I've progressed. Yeah, this is pretty, well, I think it's real typical of a first time spinner. And I'm just happy to have a whole skein here done. It's really good every once in a while to be a beginner, and I'm a beginner spinner, so I'm kind of a little bit hooked, not entirely yet, but I can see that it's coming, and I got one skein done, so happy with that. I also have some finished socks. So this is timber yarns striped sock yarn, which I just love. It's very cushy. So, and the stripes are fun. So what I wanted to do was make the stripes move around a little bit. So I'll show you the front. There. Whoops. There. Whoops, where am I? So I increased on this edge, did 2 decreases in the middle, and increased on this side. So when you do increases, they make a mountain, and when you do decreases, they make a valley. So I started cuff down, so there they are. And I did them both slightly differently. I used a different increase on the other pair and a center double decrease in the middle on the other pair, just to see if there was any difference. And I used a different color for the heel. There, so this one has the double center decrease, which I really like, and a slightly different increase here, but they look, well, more or less exactly the same. So it didn't make any difference, but I'm very happy with them, and I have a new pair of socks to wear. And just in time, let me show you. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I can't. Outside of my window is 8 inches of snow. So these are timely. Timely? Yeah. So I'm very happy with these and glad to get a pair of socks done. And then I finished my Polaris wrap. So this is the Polaris wrap by Vera Velimaki. And I did it, it's supposed to be in fingering for an Advent calendar or like Advent set of minis, but I did it as a sports weight blanket. And although the ends are all still there, I'm gonna show you my blanket. This is the right side there. Ooh, it's really long. There it is. So I used all my sports weight yarn, and I used, for the most part, my variegated yarns as the stripes, except for this pink, and I used the solids for the solid parts. Isn't that great? I'm really happy with it. It's modular. I have a ton of ends to sew in, but I will do that while I'm watching TV some night, and I'm very happy with it. It's very warm, and it will be on my chair so I can lay it on top of me. It's quite long. I'm 5 feet tall. It's over my head. So it's closer to 6 feet and close to 3.5, 4 feet wide. So I am very happy with it. And I'm so happy with it that I'm going to start another shawl knit in sports weight as a blanket with what I have left. So I just wanted to show you here. See all that yarn on the top there? I have a ton of it left. So I'm going to pick another project and start another blanket. I found it really lovely to knit on for a garter stitch. So a very nice project. I also knit a Hohi Lacatelli's mystery shawl. Now I haven't blocked it, but I just thought I'd show you. Is that the back? That's the wrong side. This is the right side. So I did it in 2 colors of DK weight and I made it bigger. But the interesting thing is I was casting it off last night and I finished casting it off and then I reached in my bag to get the ball out and I couldn't find it. So this is what I had left. Ah! Yarn chicken! I didn't even know I was that close to the end. But got it done. And now I have the ends of this to sew in and I'm going to block it. But it was pretty. I think it's going to be pretty. Let's see if I can show a little more blocked. But anyway, there you go. So I'm very happy with that. And the other thing I have been working on is playing with mittens. So I am a walker and I wanted to get a pair of mittens that form to your hand. So you know when you're walking, your hand actually looks like this, right? And so I end up like this with like this much mitten. My mittens don't conform to my hand shape when I am walking. So I have been experimenting by putting decreases, sets of decreases, so 2 decreases, 2, 2, wherever the markers are there. I put the markers in so the second mitten I know what I'm doing. Anyway, I put them in and I'm working top down on these mittens. So I cast on and I did the increases according to my any gauge mitten pattern, which is a top-down any gauge pattern of mine. It's on my Ravelry page. So I start here, do increases in 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I started my pattern and I did a decreases there, decreases there, decreases there, decreases there in each of the navy rows in between the patterns. The pattern's out of an old mitten book, but so there it is, and it has you cast on for your thumb, you add it in, and then you decrease here every row down to the bottom. There. Now it almost does it. Almost. Right? A little bit. It's a start. So then I did a second one, and you could be saying, oh my God, all those ends. So I actually have 2 done. All those ends. This is in sports weight. All those ends. But what I do is, because I have 1 row of navy, the background color, that's plain, a plain row right here. When I start my row, let's say I'm starting my row here, and I'm going this way. I don't know. I can't tell. Everything's reversed in the camera. Anyway, so on my navy row, there we are. On my navy row, I would be working this way. I used orange here as my contrast color. I would weave out the contrast color, orange, as I'm knitting the navy. Then I would knit around to 7 or 8 stitches before the end of the row, and I would weave in my new color, which is green, weave it in, and then start the pattern with the green and the navy. So that way I weave all my ends in as I knit, and I don't have to sew anything. What I actually have to do is come and clip them back, because I usually leave quite a long tail when I weave them in. So on my navy row, I'm finished with the green, I weave it in the navy, weave it out, knit once around, and before I get to the end of the row, end of the round here, I weave the new color, this color, in. There, weave it in, and then do my pattern, weave the gold out, come back, weave the orange in. And that way, there is nothing to do after the fact. And I have a very nice color work mitten. Now, because I did this, and I was so impressed with it, I think from now on in a color work yoke, I would try to put a plain round in, because it does just save you so much time after the fact for weaving in your ends, which is a hard thing to do after you're all finished. It probably makes my projects sit like for months and months, because I don't want to weave the ends in. So this is doing it as I go. So there's my mittens, and I'm pretty happy with them. Like, they do that, right? There we are. So I started another pair. Here we are. So I started another pair. These are heavier. This is in Aran weight. So there's my, I did 2 sets of decreases. So 2 there, 2 there, and 2 there, there. And at my gauge at 4 stitches to the inch, that makes the palm an inch smaller. So what I did was I increased here and here, here and here, and then I decreased 2 right there, 2 on the palm. So then I'm maintaining the number of stitches that I wanted for my mitten, and then again increase, increase. You can see, I don't know, can you see the little bump? There's a little bump right there. Bump, bump, increase, increase, decrease, decrease on either side of the center. There. And these also do a little bit of a dip, and I am pretty happy with that. Again, do your thumb and then decrease every round across the palm. I sort of think of it as your lifeline gusset. So those are quite nice, and I'm happy with that. Again, this uses what I actually did with this one was I cast on with Turkish cast on at the top, and then I increased every round on either side of the sides. So I increased 4 stitches, 2 there and 2 there, every round until they were the width that I wanted. And the chart that I used is from the Any Gauge Mitten pattern for the width of the palm. So these are a little narrower than it says, but I think they're 3.5 inches wide, and it says 4 for an average adult. So just to show, so there, so that's 2, 2, 2, 2, and the ends, I just sew them in really quickly. And I'm doing another pair, and what I wanted to try on this pair was to do the first set of decreases as soon as I got to the number of stitches I wanted. So I got to the number of stitches, which is in this case 18 and 18, and then I did one more set of increases, so increase, increase, and the 2 decreases in the middle, and then I think I went 6 rounds, did it again, increase, increase, decrease on either side. And I think I like it a little bit better. Gives me a dip right where my middle finger is. I don't know. What do you think? Just an experiment. There. So the way that I hate knitting thumbs. So the way that I do my thumbs is I do them as an I-cord. I make my thumbs as an I-cord. There. And then when my mitten is finished, I take a crochet hook and I hook it into one of these side stitches here on the side of the mitten here, and then I hook it up, all the bars, with my crochet hook, and that does a really good job. There, that one's done. So that would be the hookup right there, and that closes the bars from the I-cord. So I got this from Elizabeth Zimmerman style thing. She was doing fingers for gloves, but this works really, really well for a thumb. Start there, do an I-cord, and then hook up all the bars, and that way, whoops, dropped it. So what I usually do is do 2 thumbs and count the bars so that I get them the same length. Where's my other mitten? Oh, there it is. There's my other thumb. Oops, dropped a stitch right there. Oop. Yeah, I do them on 2 double points there. So there's my other thumb, which I will add in to my other mitten when I get it done. And and then I just do the decreases for the lifeline gusset for the thumb. So there's my I-cord bars. This works really well this is Aran weight, so anything thicker than Aran, chunky, this works fantastic. I did the same thing. I did the thumbs the same thing on this one, and then I had to do 2 rows to hook up the bars because they were quite wide. These are fingering, but I should have picked one color to hook up because I have 2 colors going across. I should have picked one color to hook up. So that, well, live and learn. Next time I will know, but it certainly takes care of the bars that are there. And doing a big I-cord like that, like this, is a whole lot easier than having 4 stitches on 3 needles of DPNs trying to knit this silly thumb. So I would recommend this. This works really well. Aran, it works for fingering. You just have to do 2 sets of hookups with your crochet hook. They still work. And they're hidden inside, the inside edge of your thumb. So yeah, I'm happy with having all that done. My next experiment with the getting properly shaped mittens for my hand is to do increase 4 stitches, and then increase 2 on just the back, and then increase 4, increase 2 on the back. And I'll see if that works. I don't know. It's worth a shot to get anatomically correct mittens for when you're walking, when your hand is kind of curved. I think that would be great. So anyway, I think these are going to be Christmas presents, and they're nice and fuzzy, and boy, they feel nice. They're singles. What am I using? I'm sure it's a discontinued yarn, but it's been in my stash for decades. It's Monteza Llama wool. I don't even know who this is by, but oh, Classic Elite. I have had it in my stash forever. So it's singles, and I had about two small bags of it, which I've knit into a sweater, and then I have 5 skeins left, I think. So I could experiment with mittens for quite a while to try to get the right shape that I'm looking for. So that's what I've been working on, just for fun. And I don't know, do you do Christmas knitting? I used to do a ton of it, and now I'm not so sure I want to do much, but my daughter-in-law showed up with mittens I had made her before, and they were fuzzy and obviously worn. So I thought I will give her one of these pairs for new mittens. I know her coat is a dark green and black, so this will be perfect. And then this is also my daughter's one of her favorite colors. So I think I have a couple Christmas presents done, even though I am experimenting with that. So, oops, dropped my thumb. There we go. So later today, I'm going to do a little bit of spinning. Now that I'm a little bit more encouraged, I actually finished some. My other project is my shawl from the 3-Tier Shawl Workshop. And which side is the front side? I have put it on 2 needles to show you how far I've gotten. So here it is, there. So this is Tier 1. Here, let me hold it up like this. This is Tier 1, a straight triangle. Starts with a garter tab. I did this in garter stitch. And to make it so with 2 center increases and an increase on each edge. Can you see them? There they are. There. If you increase 6 stitches every 2 rows, your shawl will be wider than it is deep. So that's what we have now, which is my favorite shape for a triangular shawl, because I'm kind of a short person. So I find that really helpful. So this has an increase on the edge, 2 increases in the middle, an increase on the edge, turn to the wrong side, increase on the edge, increase on the edge. So that's 6 stitches every other, it's 6 stitches every 2 rows. However you want to do that, that works. So then once you have Tier 1 finished, however long you want to make it, and you can make it in garter stitch or stocking stitch, you start with Tier 2. So Tier 2 starts over here. So this is Tier 2. So I put a marker here. Can you see that white one? Yeah, that starts up here. So when you do Tier 2, you have more or less 4 sections. You have this section here, This is the new marker where you're doing an increase before the marker. You have this section that goes from this marker to the center. And then you have section 3, which goes from the center to this tier 2 marker there. And then you have another section that goes from the new side marker to the edge. So you can do all of them in the same pattern, but I have chosen to do them in different patterns. So this green marker is just to show me what the right side is. But the white marker is where I'm going to do an increase before this marker. So I'm going to increase on this edge. I decided to do this in garter stitch. Then I did this in an eyelet pattern. To the center marker, I'm going to increase before this marker. So this is how it goes. Increase at the edge, increase before this white marker, before the center marker. Increase after the center marker and after this marker on the right side. Increase at the edge. And then work on the wrong side. So that's tier 2. So what I wanted to show you is how easy it is to start tier 3. So tier 3, there's the marker. That's it. It's right. So that's the third. This is tier 3. There's the marker for starting tier 3. That's it. That's all it is. And at this point, this little edge part here has 1 stitch in it. So I wanted to show you how easy it is to stick that marker in to start the new tier. So now I wanted to show you a bunch. I have only done 4 other shawls, so I'm going to show them to you. This was one of the first ones. This is one of the first ones. So tier 1 goes from here, can you see that? Let me just move back a little bit. Tier 1 goes from here to here. So tier 1 is down here and up there. Tier 1 in this case is quite wide. And then tier 2 goes from here. So in tier 2, I did stocking stitch, broken rib, rice stitch here. That takes you to the center. This is broken rib over here. Can you see that? There, broken rib. And then stocking stitch, reverse stocking stitch. Reverse stocking stitch. So on the wrong side, in this case, because I have 4 different patterns, this is reverse stocking stitch. So on the wrong side, I would be knitting across the back, purling across this section, knitting across this section to give me the rice stitch, and then purling across this stitch, this side, to give me stocking stitch on the right side. So you can make this as complicated as you like. And then here's tier 3. So tier 3, there. So now I have the center marker, a side marker, and another side marker. So this is now I have 6 sections. So in this one, I did reverse stocking stitch, stocking stitch, stocking stitch. I continued with the rice stitch at the bottom there. Rice stitch is just the wrong side of broken rib. Broken rib, reverse stocking stitch, and then what did I do here? Broken rib, broken rib. So on the wrong side, I would be purling, knitting, purling, purling, knitting, purling, knitting. So if I keep going over and over these, they might make a more sense. This is my second one. So this one's easier because it's in different colors. So there. So there's tier one. Tier one is, I had 100 grams of one color and 25 grams of the variegated. So I started with, I had 50 grams of the variegated and 100 grams of the orange. So I used 25 grams for my tier one. So there's my tier one in stocking stitch. Very simple, increase in the center, increase at the edge, turn, increase at the edge, purl back, increase at the edge. Very straightforward. Do it as long or as narrow, short as you like. Okay, and then I started tier two. So tier two, I put a marker here. So tier two, marker here, and I am increasing before this marker, before the center, after the center, after the side marker, and at the edges as before. So in this case, I did stocking stitch for the first section, 4 sections, tier 2, 4 sections. Stocking stitch, rice stitch, the opposite of broken rib, broken rib there, and reverse stocking stitch. So very similar to the first one I did, very similar. And on the wrong sides, I would have been, what have I would have been doing? Knitting across here, purling across here, knitting across there, and purling across here. I have to take a look at it. So it by changing the patterns and changing, it makes it more interesting on the wrong side because I'm switching between knitting and purling. So there it is. So I'll give you maybe a closer look. Okay, and then I switched back to the 25 grams I had left of my variegated, and I just went until I ran out. So a marker here, just like I did on my other shawl, just a marker right here. And now I have 6 sections. I have 3 sections on one side of the center marker and 3 sections after. So in this case, I did rice stitch. This is down here, stockinette. What's that? Rice stitch again. That's to the center. Here I did broken rib. Can you see that? Broken rib. And broken rib, reverse stocking stitch, and broken rib. There. And I just went until I ran out. There we go. So now none of these stitches are difficult to do. They're very standard. And you can see that it doesn't hurt to do like a stockinette or a garter stitch section because it's gives you a little break. Just straight working. So then this one, this is a cotton one. Where am I here on this one? I think this is one, this goes this way. I think it goes this way. It's reversible, so I'm not quite sure. But so I decided to do reverse stocking stitch in the first triangle. And then the same kind of stitches. So nothing drastic, like there's my break, stockinette stitch, and some garter stitch on the edges, which I think is a great idea because it kind of gets you going. Garter stitch here, so stockinette stitch, garter stitch, and garter stitch. So this is a even more straightforward shawl. So with all these different textures, so there we go. There we go. And to the end. There. And then I started doing a bit more with eyelets, which is fun, fun, fun. Okay, so then I did this one, which I'm not crazy about the color variation, but that's okay. I did it out of partial balls. So this is triangle 1 in garter stitch. So very straightforward. Did it until I ran out because I used three partial per ball. This is DK balls. So there we are. So garter stitch, and then I put a new side marker here and a new side marker here, and I started this section with this section. So this is garter stitch, and then I did an eyelet, a 4-stitch eyelet, knit 3, eyelet, knit 3, there. And on this side I did the same thing, but because you increase before this center marker and after this center marker, it makes the eyelets line up differently, which I suppose you can compensate for and make them look exactly the same, but I kind of like that it's a little different. So same pattern, but because there's an increase here, it throws it a little off from the same lines as the other side. Here you are increasing at the center every other row. Here you are from here on, you are increasing every 4th round. So can you see that the spaces here are close and here they're farther apart at the center? There. Okay, so every 4th row, this pattern is being shifted. So that's the same eyelet pattern, and then garter stitch. So then I put a marker here for tier 3 and a marker over here for tier, oops, that's the wrong one, over here for tier 3. And this color is tier 3. So it starts with garter stitch. And then the same pattern that was over there, here, same pattern here. And then eyelets, yarn over, knit 2 together every other row. I think it's every other row. Looks like it, every other row here. So more eyelets, and then again, this looks more similar on either side of the center. Anyway, eyelets, section, this is section 5. There's the eyelets, yarn over, knit 3, and then garter stitch. So there we are. 1, 2, 3. Can you see what the tiers do? There. So you can make this as complicated as you like. Go back to mine. What I decided to do on mine, there's the right side. So I'm doing garter stitch in tier 1. Garter stitch in tier 1, there. Eyelets, yarn over, knit together in tier 2, and I'm knitting on the wrong side. So there's garter ridges between my eyelets. And I'm actually doing, what am I doing here? Oh, I'm doing the eyelets every fourth row. There and there. So I have 2 garter ridges in between the eyelets and garter stitch on the edge. So in my case, I decided that I was going to make this a garter stitch based pattern so that on every wrong row I'm knitting. And then I do whatever fancy stuff I want to on the right side. And you can decide to make everything stockinette based on stockinette stitch where you would purl on the wrong sides, and that makes this pattern look like this pattern. So that's with stocking stitch across the back, and that's, yeah. Anyway, so this would be a smoother looking if there were 3 rows of stocking stitch below each of the yarn overs. So, but I decided I'm going to make it garter stitch, base, knit on the wrong sides. So now I'm going to start tier 3, and here's my marker, and I'm going to make this, I think I'm going to make this garter stitch because it's easy to get started with the garter stitch here. So I'm going to make garter stitch here, and then I'm going to do, I might do this one again here, or I might, yeah, and then I'm going to do another eyelet pattern here, a different one, eyelet, probably this eyelet here, and then garter stitch in my new end section. So, and I'm sure it's a nice knit, it's uniquely yours forever, and it's a free pattern on my website. So it's called the 3-Tier Shawl Workshop. It's a workshop that I made up for a couple retreats that Cabin Fever ran. So if you want, like, shawls are really straightforward, and this just makes it like you put your own pattern. I would suggest you use small patterns, like the biggest one that I do, 2 stitch repeats or 4 stitch repeats. They go really well into any stitch count. Very seldom do the patterns line up with an even repeat at the end, and you just have to make sure that if you have a yarn over, you have 2 stitches before the center marker that you can knit 2 together before you have to do your yarn over at the center marker. The same here. In tier 1, you are increasing every, can you see? Every other row. And on this case, and then as soon as you get down here, tier 2 and tier 3, you are increase every 4, which is hard to see with all the eyelets. There's my center there. Can you see that? Every 4 at the center. Yeah. So this is, I would call this a DIY shawl. It's do it yourself, design it yourself. I've given you a straightforward structure again of how to do it, and I think if you're a shawl knitter, or if you have never knit a shawl before, maybe this gets you set up so that you could try something. You can do really easy stitch patterns. You can do the same ones over and over, like as you can see I did in my first ones. I mostly did knit 1, purl 1, broken rib, purl back makes it broken rib, knit back makes it rice stitch, bumpy, stocking stitch, stockinette stitch, and garter stitch, and that gives you a shawl that's kind of interesting to look at, and pick your yarn and have a good time. So I wanted to show this one because I haven't started the 3rd tier, that's all it takes to get that tier started is like I give you the instructions for placing that marker, which is right there. And that's the first garter stitch section of this shawl as I knit it this way. Here's the right side, as I knit it this way. So I hope it's a free pattern. Download it, have some fun, knit it with a friend, see what you can come up with. I'm sure you have some nice small stitch patterns that you have loved in other patterns, and try it out, stick them in, see what happens. Okay, so I'm signing off. Bye-bye for now.